I think I hear gas. Oh shit!
All right, it is a really nice day out. Got my turbo kit back from Ceramic Coating, and it looks absolutely fantastic. So I threw in a couple coats of clear coat on top, just cause, but it looks awesome. In the sun, it really comes to life. You can really see the metallic flake in it. So I can't wait to put this on, and hopefully this will keep the temperature down. I don't want to wrap it because it just looks too good. But yeah, we're at the shop. I'm going to take this stuff home. The goal today is actually working on the Lincoln. So we're going to bring it down and see how far we can get on the wiring harness with the Holley sniper kit. And so then we can start kind of figuring out what this car needs in terms of vacuum lines. There's a ton of vacuum lines on this thing, and see what we kind of get into with that kind of mess. But that's the goal today, is to get this thing to turn over. So let's get to it. Okay, so here's a closer look at the Lincoln here. So the throttle body's on. A lot of it is already done. Vic did a pretty good job of pre-setting things up. Fuel pump is in, lines are ran up and connected. O2 sensor or wideband O2 sensor on these is in and wired as well. The distributor, we had to remove the points and lock it out, so that's been done. Coil has to be done, which I think is already mounted. Yep, it's already mounted, so that's gonna be wired up, and coil plug is right there. From here is where we need to figure out some stuff. So this block itself doesn't seem to have a pretty accessible point for a coolant temp sensor, which this does heavily rely on. So there is a coolant block kind of right down in here. It's already painted, but thinking of drilling and tapping that with the coolant jacket there and putting the coolant temp sensor in there and running it straight off of that. Other things to kind of just loosely figure out once we kind of crank it over and see how it stutters or coughs, whatever it's going to do when we try at that point, is kind of figure out these vacuum lines. So there's a lot of plumbing underneath the hood of this thing, and I didn't take it apart. Vic, the technician working on this, didn't take it apart. And so it's going to be a lot of trial and error to kind of finalize things and see what works, what didn't work previously on the car, that we may or may have to get going before the car leaves. So that's what we're facing right now. Aside from that, I know AC doesn't work, so this pump itself just spins freely. Don't know if the customer wants to eventually have that fixed up. Most likely it is going to be a cruiser, so I would imagine so. What else do we got to do on this thing? Got a block off plate for the mechanical fuel pump, so got to put that on as well, and we'll give this thing some power and kind of go from there. So Randy's on his way. He's got a tap set, so he's going to drill and tap that, get that going. I'm just going to glance over the wiring, see if there's any other inputs and outputs I may need. I don't think so. This should be a pretty simple setup. But yeah, let's get that going.
Microphone check. Microphone.
You know how you make selfies with that? You just put your face really close to it. Yeah. Thought it might be a little low.
Timing's up. I hear gas. Oh shit! Shut up.
Oh, there's a.
It's oil.
Oh.
A lot of oil. Where's it coming from?
Holy shit!
So what's our opinion on that filter?
Vic said you cut it off.
You see you did? Oh yeah, it's coming. Oh, battery cables, hold on. Alright, we're back at the house. We're gonna start putting stuff back together. Unload everything from the car. And hopefully in another hour or two we can fire it up and pull it out and see how it goes. Alright, so I'm just going to clean up some of the threads here for the O2 sensors. Also got the manifold gaskets. I use Pramatex spray gasket whenever I reuse them, so they get pretty tacky and they seal pretty nicely. I also do this on my head gaskets from the multiple times I've had them off and on. Never any issues there, but this shouldn't really go bad at all in terms of putting back together. Just tedious because I don't want to really scuff these up. They're just really pretty. So get some anti-seize, put these on, get the manifolds on, spark plugs back in, plug wires, and then fight with the merge pipe because it is tight. Manifold on, merge pipes on. Just kind of tried to service the wastegate a little bit here. I tend to, anytime I take it off, just and I seize the fire ring and the valve tend to stick, and then you get some boost issues. So I'm gonna wrestle that on and kind of mock it in place. And then the turbo, since it's all apart, I got to now re-flight with it and see how well it fits. And lock it down, put the drain line on, and then fight with the downpipe and the hater pipe. So that's always the worst part. We're almost there. Okay, so change of plans. So got the turbo started to mock up. Was trying to put on my new drain line that I made, and I was wondering why I couldn't really get the clock, just because how low the turbo sits. My old line, so it's pretty beat up. It's got a little bit of a burn there, and I had it like JB welded to stop it from leaking down here, down by the timing cover. So the 90 that I got on this line when I made it years ago is really short. The new one is pretty long, so it sits on the frame and I can't get the turbo to clock where I want it to go. So I need to change this. I got a bunch of 90 fittings at the shop, so I'm going to go back, take this guy off, switch out to the 90. I may shorten the other end. It's just slightly long, so fix that up, and then come back, put that on, mock up the compressor housing, lock it down, take the whole thing off as one, put the gasket on, that'll be done, and then I gotta fight with all that. So let's go to the shop, fix that first, and come back. Now's the nerve-wracking part, and starting it up and see what goes wrong. So I'm gonna climb over and crank it over a little bit, prime the system, and see what happens. Alright, so I just finished butting up some of the exhaust. I don't have my Bluetooth adapter, so I can't really log anything right now. But I'm just going to kind of keep an eye on the factory gauge and get an eye behind me for smoke. Let's go watch up the windshield and see how it drives. Alright, so just finished rinsing off the car. This guy beside me that thinks his shit don't stink. So we're going to open the cutout. And then we're going to fire this thing up. On command. Gotta love it. I've got it in a long time. Don't remember what that feels like.